When Anna discovered, I didn't say anything. I went downstairs to the small shop, bought a box of milk, brought it up, and left it there.
Anna, I know you're hurting, but Emily is almost gone. There's a saying, respect the dead.
I didn't look at him. I wished them a long and happy life together.
With our kind of relationship, you have to stab me with those words, don't you?
When I went to the hospital to terminate my pregnancy, it made the headlines.
The title read, "Shocking. Arrogant mistress provokes while the wife battles illness, pregnant and unashamed."
The accompanying photo was of me visiting John and Emily at the hospital that day. There was no way I could argue against it. They had a marriage certificate, they were a legal couple. What was I? What was my child?
Just a mistress and an illegitimate child.
I am a kind person. I thought if my child would be condemned by society from birth, carrying the stigma of being illegitimate, then I would choose not to bring them into this world.
Under that trending topic, there were over 80,000 comments insulting me. Maybe it's because cyberbullying doesn't come with consequences. The netizens used the vilest language, dragging my ancestors into their tirades.
It did affect my mood a bit, and I experienced severe complications during the procedure. Unfortunately, I have a rare blood type. The delay in finding blood nearly cost me my life.
In that life and death moment, I felt vulnerable and instinctively wanted to call John. The phone rang twice before I hung up.
In what capacity would I call him? What right did I have? When I was discharged, the entrance was packed. It was filled with women who despised mistresses, shouting and cursing.
"You shameless woman!"
Someone even threw a tomato at me. It shattered, leaving a red mark on my forehead, like blood.
Have some decency. She just had a medical procedure and needs to recover. She can't handle this kind of stress.
The women became even more agitated, their words as foul as a stinking latrine in July, making my head ache.
"She deserves it."
So, I retreated back into the hospital. As a result, those women started spreading rumors, saying I had my uterus removed and would never have children again. Online, people were cheering, saying that mistresses deserved to be punished.
This is the fate of a mistress.
Yes. I had become a disgraceful mistress. For 8 years. John and Emily are planning their wedding. They're incredibly busy. He managed to call me amidst the chaos, telling me that Emily only has 3 months left to live. He said that people are pitiful when they're near the end, and he wants to be with her for this final journey.
Anna, after this, I will marry you and give you an extraordinarily grand wedding. We'll book the best hotel, hire the best wedding planners, buy the most exquisite wedding dress, and create the most ceremonious atmosphere, complete with a flying veil. I promise I'll make it up to you.
Okay.
There was a pause on the other end of the line, and John's voice was very low.
Anna, you've always been so understanding.
Let's break up.
After saying it, I felt childish. In reality, when he and Emily got their marriage certificate, we were already over.
Don't say things out of anger. Don't joke around.
I can't be the other woman, can I?
John's voice froze again, filled with deep concern.
Don't talk about yourself like that. You're carrying a child. Take care of yourself, okay? Wait for me.
Oh. I'm pregnant. So he thinks he has me under control. He wants me to be the virtuous woman, waiting there. Dream on. There was no doubt that I loved John. But that didn't mean he could treat me poorly.
I had loved John since I was very young. Back then, he was the young master of a construction company, and my father was one of his father's employees, working on the scaffolding. One day, my father accidentally fell and broke his leg. The project manager didn't want to compensate him. My mother was chronically ill, and our family was so poor that we could barely afford food. I had no choice but to kneel at the construction site gate.
John was sitting in the car driven by his chauffeur, wearing sunglasses. He saw me kneeling there, nearly fainting from the heat. He got out and gave me a bottle of water.
What's wrong? What grievances have you suffered?
I burst into tears and told him everything between sobs. He frowned, spoke a few words to the chauffeur, and told me to go home and wait. He even took a Haagen-Dazs from the car's mini fridge and gave it to me. It was the first time I had ever tasted Haagen-Dazs, and I remembered that taste for the rest of my life.
I stumbled home, and the next day, my father's compensation for his injury came through. It was several $1,000s, enough to sustain us for 2.5 years. For John, it was just a matter of a few words, but for us, it was our lifeline. I was very grateful. Truly.
From that moment, I had a thought. I wanted to become someone like him. Someone who could help others, bringing light and warmth to their lives.
So I worked hard. I studied, attended a prestigious university, and started my own business. Maybe I was lucky, and riding the wave of e-commerce, I managed to make some money, earning the title of a promising young talent. Fate had not treated me poorly. But unfortunately, I still missed my chance with John.
While I was working tirelessly to establish myself in society, John was in a sweet relationship with Emily, doing everything he could to treat her well. To be fair, Emily wasn't a bad girl. On the contrary, she was quite innocent. Her family situation was also very poor. She had previously worked in a foot massage parlor, sold there by her father who owed gambling debts. She met John while escaping from the foot massage parlor. That's their story. Quite romantic and a bit surreal.
John's car almost hit her on a rainy day. She was wearing a white dress, standing there alone, swaying, and knelt in front of John's car like a daisy, broken at the stem. Naturally, he saved her, feeling a deep pity for her brokenness, and they ended up together. Naturally, his family opposed the relationship. Naturally, they broke up.
This was quite common. Although John's family had money, it was controlled by his father, so he was always constrained. He couldn't marry whoever he wanted from the start. Emily was strong-willed. When she was over a month pregnant, perhaps frustrated by John's hesitation in their relationship, she terminated the pregnancy and sent the remains to his doorstep, leaving in anger. This incident became a scandal in their social circle, making it hard for any respectable family's daughter to even glance at him.
John later went after Emily, making a fool of himself, but she never looked back, showing a bit of backbone, as young girls often do. Until John met me.
Was I the one who came between them? No. I just felt sorry for him. Yes, I felt sorry. You see, the deity I once looked up to from the dust had turned himself into a wreck for a woman, drinking away his sorrows in bars. It was pitiful. I felt sorry.
I didn't really mind his past with Emily. His deep feelings for her were never fake, nor was his kindness. I was wealthy and attractive, so when I looked for a man, I valued loyalty and affection. In my eyes, John initially had both.
Although he never knew how much effort I put in to stand by his side, to be worthy of him, swallowing countless grievances. Even though I was that pig riding the wave, life wasn't easy. For someone from the bottom like me, spotting and seizing the opportunity required immense effort.
That night, John got drunk and tried to be intimate with me, calling out Emily's name in his stupor. I refused. Not to prove I wasn't an easy woman or to preserve my meaningless first time, but because I, Anna, would not be anyone's substitute.
I am me, Anna. I wanted a lover, not just a man. In terms of talent and looks, I was top-notch. If I beckoned, men willing to be with me could line up from here to Paris. I didn't want to waste time. I wanted my man to see me as his number one. Otherwise, it wasn't worth the trouble. Work was already stressful enough.
Later, John pursued me. He sent me large bouquets of roses, professing his love. He also gifted me beautiful sapphires and translucent jade. Essentially, he was a gentle and tasteful man. Well-educated and graceful, all qualities I admired. I am a woman. I love beautiful jewelry, clothes, and even handbags. I love them all. John was actually quite good to me. He knew how to take care of a woman. Being with him felt like a breath of fresh spring air.
John, these gifts are lovely. You really know how to make a woman feel special.
But I heard he wasn't always like this. He used to be a prickly person, spoiled by his family, with very low emotional intelligence. When he was with Emily, he made her suffer. On anniversaries, he gave her a spatula as a gift. During their relationship, he never gave her flowers or jewelry. When she was ill, his only advice was to drink more hot water. He was a particularly clueless and insensitive man. His treatment of women was harsh. So, they constantly argued until they finally broke up, a messy end known to everyone. Perhaps it was Emily's polishing that allowed John and me to get along so well. He became gentle and refined. And so did I.
My gentleness and kindness weren't a facade. Years of life's ups and downs had smoothed out my rough edges. I knew how to interact with different people.
I could tell what kind of woman John liked, or rather, what kind of woman could get along well with him, a naive, innocent woman.
So, in John's eyes, I was always a beautiful fool, a virtuous woman suitable for marriage, even a pure white flower growing out of the mud, untouched by the dirt. I laughed.
One day, I stumbled upon John's diary. Only then did I realize that most of the time he was with me, his heart was filled with pain and regret. For instance, when he gave me beautiful red roses, a shadow would suddenly cloud his mind, reminding him of the years he never gave a single rose to a woman who once carried his child. Or when he took meticulous care of me when I was ill, the stark white walls of the hospital would make him think of the years he ignored that same woman, leaving her to cry alone in stormy nights until she withered away. And so on.
Though it was human nature, it felt cold to me. Perhaps he never truly loved me. It was just convenient.
8 years. I took care of him meticulously for 8 years, only to be told that we were suitable.
Maybe we just met at the wrong time. He had his regrets, and I had mine. But I never thought of asking him to make up for my regrets. Yet, he sought to make up for his. His way of making amends only deepened my regrets, making them even more poignant. It was quite cruel.
Over the years, I have come to understand myself. I know there are many things in this world that are beyond our control. I also understand that the affection between men and women is just a feeling.
You either like someone or you don't. Even if you could force it, you can't deceive your own heart.
I liked John. I liked him very much. So much that I thought about him day and night. He was always on my mind.
In fact, besides being gentle and kind, I invested a lot of money in John's family, made many connections, closed many deals, and brought in a lot of wealth. John's father always saw me as a strong business partner.
So when we were together, we had everyone's blessing.
Perhaps I was too gentle with John, which made him overlook my abilities, making him think that I, Anna, was just a lucky, somewhat clumsy woman.
Over the years, I took care of John meticulously. I made his favorite soups, and no matter how tired I was, I would always leave a light on by the window for him every night. If he didn't come home, the light wouldn't go out, and I wouldn't sleep.
John's job was demanding, and sometimes he had a bad temper. During those times, I would quietly hold him, telling him that I was there, always there. I would tell him that if there were things he didn't like doing, he shouldn't do them. We had plenty of money, and life was meant to be enjoyed. I would buy him the best fishing rod, and we would go fishing.
During those moments, he would smile at me, gently patting my head, saying,
Anna, you are so kind. You can soothe all my worries.
He also said I was the little candy in his palm, sweetening his heart with just one look.
Whenever he smiled at me, it was like a deity had descended to earth, reaching out to me, enveloping me in a halo of light.
My life was bright and promising. Until now. The reason John's mother and everyone around him didn't tell me about John and Emily getting married was because the Song family's business had been struggling recently.
Margaret, my former prospective mother-in-law, had always believed that their family had offended the gods, leading to divine retribution and thus their declining business.
Well, the truth is, their family was in real estate, a sector heavily regulated by the government. When the government decided to control housing prices, everyone in the industry was affected. It had nothing to do with any supernatural forces. But Margaret always thought it was their own wrongdoing. Robert, John's father, was always abroad. Back then, Emily had done something extreme. She ended her pregnancy and sent the remains to the Song family's doorstep. Margaret, who received the package, was so shocked that she fainted on the spot and was bedridden for months, plagued by nightmares and guilt. Afterward, Margaret regretted it and constantly urged John to get Emily back, to apologize and make amends. So, Margaret always felt that their declining business was somehow related to this incident, that they had done something wrong back then. When she heard that Emily was terminally ill and her last wish was to marry John, Margaret immediately took charge and arranged everything, instructing everyone to keep it a secret from me. Her reasoning was simple. Emily wouldn't live more than 3 months anyway. After she passed, the Song family could marry me properly. As long as they kept it from me, it would be a win-win situation. After all, I was pregnant, so I wouldn't leave. But I found out. It was quite ironic, really. I saw John and Emily's marriage certificate when I was planning to book my wedding dress. I was planning to rehearse my wedding in Sonia. I wanted to design my own wedding. I'm a woman who values ceremony. Otherwise, why would I work so hard to earn money? So I was rummaging through the drawers at home, looking for my ID card. Somehow, I found their marriage certificate in John's watch box. I usually didn't look through his personal belongings because I trusted him. But that day, I opened it on a whim. At first, I thought it was a joke. I thought maybe they had made a fake certificate when they were together, dreaming about marriage. But the official seal and the bright red date were like a brand on my heart, turning my once lively, beating heart into a cascade of tears. I suddenly felt like a joke. Standing there. I felt like a joke. Clearly, it was John and I who were planning to get married. I had even undergone skin treatments and gotten countless injections to prepare for the wedding photos. I had even done my nails, a beautiful, sparkling bridal design. I had invited my mother, friends, and all my relatives to witness this joke. How ironic. My baby kicked me hard in the stomach, and as I bent over in pain, the whole world seemed to collapse. My life turned dark and gloomy. Later, John and Emily had their wedding. It wasn't grand, rather simple, actually. After all, Emily didn't have many relatives. During this time, John kept calling me. I didn't answer. Eventually, he used my best friend's phone to reach me. I was reviewing some documents when I heard his voice and immediately wanted to hang up.
Anna, please, just listen to me for a moment, just a moment.
It was the first time I had heard him cry. I was a bit taken aback.
I miss you, I want to see you. I'm going crazy not being able to find you. Without you, I can't even find the dishes at home. Why are you avoiding me? I'm tormented by my conscience. Why are you treating me this way?
I listened quietly, my mind filled with questions. Perhaps the time apart had allowed my intelligence to resurface. I used to see this man as a god, but now he just seemed ridiculous and foolish.
You're married now. Isn't it inappropriate to say these things to me?
You took that seriously? How could you take that seriously? It was all fake. Don't you understand? Emily is dying, I was just. The one I love is you. I've moved on from the past. We still have a child, don't you remember? How could you just leave like that?
Oh. He thought there was still a child. Apparently, he hadn't seen the news. He must have been busy preparing for the wedding, too busy to care about me.
There is no child.
Anna, what did you say?
There is no child. I terminated the pregnancy.
He was stunned. After a moment, he started to roar.
How could you do this to me? How could you? You must be lying to me. Tell me you're lying. Anna. Tell me you're lying.
Having an illegitimate child would be a burden for me if I ever wanted to marry someone else.
You're actually thinking about marrying someone else.
I was a bit annoyed, so I hung up the phone. Boring. When he called again, I stared at the number for a couple of seconds before turning off my phone. Then I turned on another phone and asked my assistant to book a flight to Sri Lanka. To see the ocean, to find some gemstones.
Yes, I'm a shallow woman. I really do love gemstones. Ha ha ha.
Life doesn't really have any inherent meaning. It depends on what meaning you give it and how you choose to live it. Cultivating oneself, managing a family, governing a country, and bringing peace to the world is one kind of meaning. Experiencing a love so profound it moves heaven and earth is another. Living in the mundane world, having 3 meals a day is yet another. Watching the sky, the sea, the growth of a flower, or the withering of a blade of grass is also a kind of meaning.
For me, finding beautiful gemstones is my meaning. As a woman abandoned by John, I have been unfortunate enough, so I might as well do something that makes me happy. After all, life is finite.
I was at a bar in Sri Lanka when I met a young Chinese man. In his early 20s, perhaps due to his mixed heritage, he had striking blue eyes that were very beautiful. The young man was a rock singer, performing in the bar. His voice was sensual and full of emotion. I liked it. He played the guitar while I drank, and under the swaying lights, I felt a bit intoxicated. His face was truly beautiful, and he had a great physique too.
Hi there! Enjoying the performance?
Yeah, it was great. But why talk to me? There are many prettier girls here.
I saw deep sadness on your face.
Ha! He saw right through me. Sadness is sadness. I didn't pretend otherwise.
Is this your way of hitting on women?
What's there to be sad about in life? It's just about doing what you want and being free. Don't set limits for yourself.
He patted me on the shoulder.
Don't set limits for yourself. Let the past be the past.
He suddenly laughed and sang to me.
Let bygones be bygones. Let them all go with the wind.
It was a bit cute, a bit funny. I laughed.
Yes. Dwelling on the past is pointless. People should always look forward.
The young Chinese man was named David, a globetrotter who had traveled to over 100 countries at a young age, living freely and unburdened. In the days that followed, I traveled with him. His thinking was simple. He said that the more places you go, the more things you see, the less confined you'll be by your surroundings, and you'll forget many worries.
Just enjoy life. Don't let your surroundings trap you.
Interesting. I, Anna, have lived through so much, yet there are still things that I get caught up in. Later, David and I got together. Simply because we were happy. I saw joy in him, and he saw the same in me.
With David, I could be my true self.
I could drink, smoke, get my hair permed, get tattoos, though I chickened out because of the pain. I didn't have to care about others' opinions, didn't have to live like a delicate flower, didn't have to smooth out my edges to fit into anyone's way of interacting. I was just myself. Life is meant to be enjoyed, to be lived freely. Returning home, it had already been a year. Sorry, I had been too indulgent. One has to admit, people are quite forgetful. When John and I first parted ways, I thought I would carry him in my heart forever. But that wasn't the case. You only keep someone in your heart because you don't have a better option.
Anna, please, listen to me.
In reality, no one keeps another person in their heart forever. Or maybe, back then, the person I kept in my heart wasn't him, but rather, through him, I saw myself, the self that wanted to become better. When I returned home, John's father had also come back. Robert and Margaret came to see me with gifts.
Margaret, this is all our fault. We've been inconsiderate and caused Anna such great distress.
I made tea for them and said there was no distress. I had already forgotten about those things.
It's nothing. I have someone by my side now, so let's not bring up the past.
Daughter, I'm sorry.
It's nothing. If there's business in the future, we can still cooperate.
That was about it, neither too warm nor too cold. Afterwards, John kept trying to see me, but I had my bodyguards keep him away. It was hard for him to see me, and at most, he could only catch a glimpse of me getting into my car from a distance.
Anna, please, just listen to me.
Then, like a fool, he would stand there waving, asking me to listen to him. It was quite amusing. But some things are indeed dramatic. John's first love, his white moonlight, Emily, didn't pass away after 3 months. She was still alive and well, full of energy. The explanation was simple, a misdiagnosis. Emily, back then, relied on her youth and beauty, was proud and ambitious, but wasn't accepted by John's family. She got angry, terminated the pregnancy, and left, becoming the white moonlight in John's heart. She thought that rich second-generation heirs like John were everywhere and that she could easily find another one. But she slowly realized that wasn't the case, and her life became increasingly difficult. The real world was harsher than she had imagined. You can't rely on a man to live. At the very least, you need to be able to stand beside him. If she had been able to, John's family wouldn't have opposed her back then, and I wouldn't have been involved. When she realized that John, the man who could live and die for her, seemed to be doing well, she came back with an excuse of a terminal illness, thinking that John would still be willing to live and die for her. But in reality, John wasn't that great. If their love had been strong enough, they wouldn't have separated. Love that ends in separation has fundamental issues. Life isn't a movie, broken mirrors don't always mend, and people don't always stay the same. Using a terminal illness as an excuse, Emily's life wasn't going well. John resented her for deceiving him and constantly thought of me, feeling guilty towards me. This man never cherished the happiness he had and always felt indebted to others. Emily, filled with jealousy, acted like a shrew, tormenting John, supervising him, and slandering me, which made John dislike her more and more. She lacked confidence. And I discovered something quite interesting. John wasn't as great as I once thought.
Anna, can we talk?
Once, due to a business collaboration, we had a meeting. After everyone left, John stopped me, saying he had something to tell me. He hesitated, and it wasn't about business. It was about our past relationship. I found it amusing.
John, if you feel guilty towards me, you don't need to. I don't hold grudges against men. You know I don't have much time or energy to waste on irrelevant matters. If you want to rekindle something, then you are being presumptuous.
I sat in the chair, leaning back with my hands spread out.
John, you're already married. Rekindling something, that would make me the other woman. Someone like me, being your mistress? If you have such thoughts, you haven't recognized your position or identity. I suggest you go back and figure it out, considering your age.
I shrugged and said,
That's it. I'm busy. If you need anything, contact my assistant.
I got up and left. After that, I never saw John again. I only heard that his life was ordinary. His home was filled with constant bickering, just like many other families in the world. Emily wasn't easy to deal with either. She had nothing to do at home except spend money and constantly monitored John's every move. If John drank, she threw a fit. If he went out for social events, she followed him timidly. She even brought a chair to sit in the corner and knit while he had gatherings with friends. According to John, she was an embarrassing woman, someone he didn't even want to mention. Using such tactics back then, she naturally wasn't someone to be proud of. Gaining something through improper means naturally leads to fear of losing it. It's quite normal. It seemed that John later had an affair, and Emily quickly withered, becoming no different from many other women who married into wealthy families, full of resentment and not very happy. Friends said I was John's white moonlight.
The white moonlight was Emily, who had turned into a mere grain of rice, nothing more. As for me, I was still very happy.
William was young and full of vitality. We watched the sky, the sea, the clouds together, and traveled through mountains and rivers. I also did a lot of charity work, becoming the person I once aspired to be, someone who could bring warmth to others. But not for anyone else.